The NBA free agency period is behind us and Summer League is here. Joel Embiid gets fined. LaVar Ball is in talks for a new reality TV show. Phil Jackson departs from the Knicks and people are still mad. The Brooklyn Nets rescue D'Angelo Russell. And who and what are off topic this week? All that and more on What's the 411 Sports, coming right up. Welcome to this week's edition of What's the 411 Sports. I'm Keisha Wilson.
And I'm Mike McDonald.
Mike, it's good to see you as always.
You too, Keisha.
And great to see you guys at home. But before we get onto our top stories, let's get a couple quick bites. The NBA fined Philadelphia 76ers center Joel Embiid $10,000 for foul language after he released an Instagram video where he said, F LaVar Ball. I guess if you can't say something nice, you don't say it at all or you pay money. Los Angeles Lakers forward Brandon Ingram will sit out the remainder of the summer league due to cramping in his right leg. The Miami Heat have officially waived Chris Bosh, and they plan to retire his jersey, and he has since cleared waivers and will become a free agent. And James Harden is about to make it rain because he signed the largest NBA contract extension in history. The deal, reportedly worth $228 million, is set to start to kick in during the 2019-2020 season, where he will be paid $37.8 million the first year, followed by $40.8 million, $43.8 million, and $46.8 million. Congratulations, dinner on him.
Well, Keisha, let's get right to the NBA talk as you were just discussing. Of course, NBA free agency was in full effect this past week. Let's talk about some of the winners, and also let's talk about who was perceived to have not done so well.
I think one of the interesting moves for me was Chris Paul going to the Houston Rockets. I did not see that one coming. I thought that between Blake and Chris that the Clippers would choose to keep Chris Paul. But since the trade, there's been rumors of a deterioration between the relationship of Chris Paul and Doc Rivers, which Chris Paul and Austin Rivers have categorically denied, and people were saying that the reason why the relationship between Chris Paul and Doc Rivers was rocky was because of perceived favoritism towards Austin Rivers, who's Doc's son. But I found this interesting. I think it definitely puts the Rockets closer to competing with the Warriors. I don't think it puts them over the top yet. They have this up-tempo offense that I think Chris Paul would be great for. But I think the challenge is, how will this Chris Paul and James Harden pairing work? Because both require the ball a lot in their hands. So it's going to be up to Mike D'Antoni to figure out how to get that ball moving amongst the players, but not take away from what they do and manage those egos. So for me, the biggest losers happened on draft night with the Chicago Bulls. They traded Jimmy Butler to Minnesota in addition to the number 16 pick, and in return the Bulls received the number 7 pick, Zach LaVine and Chris Dunn. Now, Jimmy Butler is a bona fide all-star, and I feel as though what the Bulls gave away, they did not get back in return. They traded for potential, because you don't know how draft picks will work out. So you hope that with the number 7 pick that he will progress into a superstar or maybe a 1A type player. But you have Zach LaVine, who had a really great season last year, but he's coming off an ACL injury. So I think once he's healed, I think he will continue on an upward trajectory. And Chris Dunn, who didn't even really pan out the way people thought he was. I mean, he was a rookie, and he actually lost the starting job to Ricky Rubio. And a lot of people really thought that Ricky Rubio was just kind of on his way out. So I think Chicago so far has been the biggest loser.
Yeah, talking about the losers, I'll start with that too. As you were hitting on to talk about with Chicago, for me, two of the losers I thought, and it's not necessarily these two teams' fault, but Indiana and Utah. Here are two small market franchises who certainly struggle to attract free agent players, and both of them kind of got burned. Utah by Gordon Hayward, who goes ahead and leaves to go ahead to Boston, and then of course Indiana, where they go ahead and they make the trade, which was a smart decision for them to get rid of Paul George. These are two teams though that I sympathize for, because they're in this small market. It's hard for them to attract free agents, and they're sort of now on the outside looking in terms of how they're going to be able to compete over the next several years or so. As you hit it on the head with the Houston Rockets, I mean, this is a team now that will automatically jump into the conversation. They made it, to the second round of the playoffs by losing to San Antonio last year, but this is a major upgrade for them. And of course, there's still that possibility that they might wind up landing Carmelo Anthony. I know we're going to talk a little bit later about the Oklahoma City Thunder, so that's certainly a team that's really made some significant strides as well. And just two players that I'll end with are Rudy Gay and Dion Waiters. These are guys that have been in the league for some time now. They got nice contracts. A lot of people were on the fence about whether these guys were get paid or not. And then the last thing I'll say, for me, a big winner was the NBA. I thought the NBA here, because everyone's talking about this dichotomy between the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Golden State Warriors and how they're head and shoulders above everybody else. But then you look at teams like the Celtics, the Oklahoma City Thunder, and of course also the Minnesota Timberwolves. They may not be one of the top 5, 6, 7 teams in the NBA, but they've certainly made a lot of progress here in this offseason by making major improvements.
Yeah, so I mean, there's still more to come, so we'll see. And I think everybody's vying for that super team to build to beat the Warriors. And I think the Warriors also are winners in the free agency period, because they got Kevin Durant to take a pay cut, got Steph on his max contract, and Iguodala they re-signed, and they have their core intact for the next couple of years. So we'll see. As you mentioned, Paul George, we're going to talk about him a little bit. He did leave Indiana and landed in OKC. And Mike, with the move, do you think that OKC is better positioned to take over the West? And do you think with Paul George leaving and the Lakers not getting him this year, do you think that the Lakers missed out on having Paul George?
With Paul George first, I think absolutely this puts the Oklahoma City Thunder into the conversation. Now, I don't know if they're necessarily going to be able to compete with the Golden State Warriors when it comes down to the playoffs, but they're certainly going to be a team that people are going to be talking about as we get ready for the season to start up. No question about that. And George said today, actually in an article in Sports Illustrated, that the person who really kind of supplied some motivation for him to come to Oklahoma City was Kevin Durant, who said, "You're going to love it there. This is going to be a good franchise." So George has kind of not necessarily closed the door on whether or not he's going to wind up looking after going to another franchise when the season is going to be finished. But he says, look, if we're winning here at Oklahoma City, I'm more than willing to kind of stick around for a little bit. As far as the Lakers are concerned, I thought that they made the right decision here. I think that why you have a surplus of young talent, why sort of give that up? Now, I know that Paul George has issued this statement where he said in the past that he's very, open to the possibility of coming home to play for the Lakers. But from my standpoint, I think the Lakers made the right decision. We know that George could wind up being a free agent at the end of next season. And you know what? If they don't wind up getting George, well, then there's other still players that could still wind up being out there. Maybe it could be Russell Westbrook. Could it possibly be LeBron James? So I think the Lakers, for the most part, I think they made the right move.
I agree with Paul George coming to the OKC Thunder and making them better contenders in the West. They won't take over. I think they're probably another superstar or a 1A type player away from really closing that gap. But we talked about winners just recently in free agency. Russell Westbrook must be breathing a sigh of relief to have another scorer on the team to take off some of the pressure from him. And OKC, they re-signed Andre Roberson and they signed Patrick Patterson, some really nice complementary pieces. So I think that they'll have a better showing in the West. And as far as the Lakers, you really hit the nail on the head. They took a calculated risk in not trading for Paul George. They have a lot of confidence in what they're building, and with Paul George still being under contract, they would have to trade for him. So you still want to keep your team intact and not further push back the rebuild, because they would have to unload a lot of assets. So I think for them, they're just praying that there's something that goes amiss in OKC, that maybe the playoff run won't be as great as maybe you and I think, and that would make LA a more attractive offer. And they also got rid of the Mozgov contract, so that cleared some cap space. So I think the Lakers are trying to set the stage for him and make an attractive package for Paul George or someone of that caliber to come to their team. So we'll see. So we're going to stay on the subject of the Los Angeles Lakers, and we're going to talk about the family that has rose to prominence. People love to hate. Recently starred on Raw, and that's LaVar Ball. So LaVar Ball is maybe something of a Nostradamus and has predicted that his son, Lonzo Ball, would make it to the NBA and would play for the Lakers. Check and check. His son Lonzo is in the NBA. He is playing for the Lakers, and he's on Summer League. So Lonzo being in Summer League, his play is... he's under scrutiny. So do you think there's anything that the Lakers should be worried about based on what we've seen from Lonzo Ball so far in the Summer League?
I don't think so. I think that Los Angeles did their due diligence when they went ahead and they drafted Lonzo Ball. I think that they knew what they got when they brought the kid in and they made the move to go ahead and draft him. I think that this is a time for Laker fans, we've discussed this previously, for them to be very excited about what the future holds. And I'll even say this, Magic Johnson has been one to kind of throw some fuel to the fire as far as putting a little bit of pressure on him, saying, hey, when they had their press conference, saying, hey, you're gonna wind up having your jersey here in the rafters just along with me. Save me some records though, So I think that this is what the Lakers kind of wanted. And in terms of Lonzo Ball, he's from Los Angeles. He wanted to play for UCLA. He wanted to play for the Lakers. This is something that he's wanted all along. So I think that only time is going to tell whether or not this kid's going to be the superstar that many expect him to be. But for now, I think he's ready to live up to the hype, and I think that he can handle the pressure that comes his way.
Yeah, I think we might have pressed the panic button a little bit after his debut in the Summer League, where he kind of laid an egg. But he bounced back very nicely in the next game and had a triple-double. So I don't think that the Lakers should be worried about anything. On the court, you see why the Lakers wanted him, those flashes of that court vision that he has and really understanding where his teammates are going to be. And I think if anything, they'd be worried about that ugly looking shot. But hey, as long as it goes in, who's worried about that? And maybe he might need to, put some meat on those bones, get some muscles so he's not as lean and, get knocked around as much. But I think the sky's the limit. And I think, he's going to continue as he gets his sea legs. Oh, I missed the other air quote. He gets his sea legs. He'll just get better. And Magic Johnson's in the front office. I mean, who better to mentor him than Magic Johnson? So the Lakers are fine. There's a nice added excitement to the Lakers that we haven't seen in a while. And I mean, somebody took their Kobe Bryant jersey and then I think put duct tape over Bryant and wrote Ball on top. I mean, I found that a little tad disrespectful, but it's evident of the excitement.
Traditional light bulbs actually generate 9 times more heat than light. Switch to energy-saving bulbs. Saving energy saves you money.
Our photo of the week is a picture of Markelle Fultz, the 2017 NBA Draft's #1 pick overall, being helped off by the court by his teammates because of an injured left ankle.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
Welcome back to What's the 411 Sports. Now we're going to talk about one of our hometown teams, the Brooklyn Nets. And on draft night with the number 22 pick, they chose Jarrett Allen. But prior to the draft, they acquired D'Angelo Russell and Timofey Mozgov from the Lakers in exchange for Brook Lopez and a first-round draft pick. Do you think that the Brooklyn culture will be a benefit for D'Angelo Russell and him?
I think as far as the Nets letting him grow as a player, I think that this is a good fit for him. Playing with Jeremy Lin, who has said he's very excited about the possibility, or not the possibility, about the reality of having Russell come and play in the backcourt with him. And Kenny Atkinson has proven in the past, not necessarily as a head coach, but as an assistant coach, that he works very well with guards. So I think that the shift also to playing in the Eastern Conference, where he has to compare to going out and slugging out in the West every night, I think that will also benefit him as well. So I think, what the Nets have done as far as making some of these moves in the offseason, this has been the key. Russell, bringing him in here. And now, again, we talk about his youth and his inexperience, but hopefully this maybe could turn into something that's going to be his benefit.
As far as being part of, really the Brooklyn culture, I think that it's a perfect place for him to be. I really miss Brooke Lopez. I really think that he would be really great in taking him under his wing. But I think Jeremy Lin, and there's I'm very biased, but, there are definitely a lot of upstanding teammates on the Brooklyn Nets. So any one of them, I'm sure, would be able to be a positive influence on D'Angelo. So and in Brooklyn itself, the culture is very young, it's vibrant, it's hip, and I think he'll be fine.
Well, while it seems like there's some bright things on the horizon for the Brooklyn Nets, it seems like there's a big dark cloud still hovering over the New York Knicks. While last week, or might have been 2 weeks ago, Phil Jackson is now out as the New York Knicks president. And then after that, they've inked a 4-year deal with Tim Hardaway Jr. On top of that, Keisha, David Griffin, the former Cavaliers general manager, has made the decision that he will not be joining the Knicks front office. Keisha, I ask you, is it a good move for the Knicks to go ahead and sign Tim Hardaway Jr.? Who made this decision? And would the Hardaway acquisition have happened if Phil Jackson was still at the helm?
Wow. Who made the decision? I think Steve Mills is acting in that capacity. So he made the decision to bring Tim Hardaway Jr. on board. Was it a good move? I don't know. I feel like it's a very Knicks move. I mean, they drafted Tim Hardaway Jr. A couple of seasons ago and then decided they didn't want his services anymore and sent him to the Atlanta Hawks. And now they want him back. So I don't know. It's just kind of very Knicks-like. But and I don't even know. It's just mind-boggling, some of the decisions that they make. But I will say, to Tim Hardaway's credit, that he has improved a lot from when he was here with the Knicks. Atlanta, I don't know if Kenny Atkinson, I don't know if Kenny Atkinson was on board at that point, but whomever was there really nurtured him and allowed him to grow his skills. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad one. I wouldn't pay that much money for him. And I think the Knicks are just keep bungling stuff. They had the press conference introducing Hardaway, well, I guess reintroducing, as he's been here before, reintroducing Tim Hardaway Jr. as a Knick, and he was there by himself. No James Dolan, no Steve Mills, no Coach Hornacek, nobody there. It's just Tim Hardaway on himself. And I was reading a quote, according to Tim Popper. He said that Tim Hardaway Jr. said that when they were going to sign him, they told him that, all he needed to do was improve on offense and defense. And I'm probably paraphrasing this. So I'm like, you just can't make this stuff up. So I mean, I don't know, Mike. You tell me.
Well, I forgot to mention, they also did earlier today. They made the decision to bring back, earlier in the week, they made the decision to bring back Ron Baker. So that's another thing where they'll hopefully be able to improve a little bit. But the Knicks are just a circus act right now. It's a complete mess. We talk a lot about the Brooklyn Nets and the New York Knicks and how both of them have been struggling over the last several seasons or so. But like we said earlier with the Nets, at least there seems to be this new refurbished attitude. And people were excited when the Knicks made the decision to get rid of Phil Jackson. But now at the same time, it's like, it's the same old Knicks. They don't really know how they're going to wind up going forward into the future. Steve Mills, I don't think necessarily knows how to. And a lot of it is an indictment on James Dolan. I think he's one of the worst owners in all of sports. He just meddles way too much. He doesn't really know how to allow the players, not necessarily the players, but the people that run the front office to do their jobs. And then as far as bringing Hardaway Jr. in here, I think that Knicks fans will be pleasantly surprised when they see the way that he's going to wind up playing for the Knicks. Because you're right. I mean, if you saw him play towards the end of the season, especially in the playoffs for the Atlanta Hawks, he was like night and day as opposed to what he was playing when he was playing here with the Knicks. He's a very good ball player. Now, I think obviously they overpaid him a little bit, but this is what you expect when you get with the Knicks nowadays. So.
We'll move on to the gridiron and talk about our New York Jets. Our New York Giants. Whoa, wow. And we're going to talk about probably my favorite player in Odell Beckham Jr. Odell Beckham Jr. landed number 8 on the NFL Top 100 players. And some people are already giving him an icon status. Mike, I ask you, is Odell Beckham Jr. an icon?
Not yet. Certainly, he has a long way to go. He's got the talent to be a Hall of Fame wide receiver. There's no doubt about that. He's got the game-changing ability. He's not on Julio Jones and Antonio Brown level just yet, but he'll probably get there because he's younger than those guys, and he hasn't had as many opportunities to perform in the playoffs. But with the NFL, really for me, the guys that are icons are the quarterbacks. Those are the guys that are that have to lead their team and everything. But there's no question that Odell Beckham Jr. Despite all the controversy, which is mild controversy, it's not like this guy's out there, getting into fights, doing anything illegal or anything like that. All the controversy that surrounds him, it's all small stuff. It's like, oh, you shouldn't have gone to Miami to go party. It's not like it's major things, but he has certainly no question about it. The opportunity in front of him to be one of the most famous athletes in the world, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that he plays in New York. A lot of it has to do with the fact that he plays in this major market, and a lot of it has to do with the personality that he has. And people always point to the hair. It's not just the hair. It's the fact that he is one of the few players in the NFL where at any given moment in the game, he just has that breakaway speed where he can just pull away and just have a game-changing touchdown like that. So I think he absolutely has an opportunity, but to make a name for himself and be one of the greatest to ever play at his position. But icon status, he has a long way to go until he gets to that point.
I think at this point he's had iconic moments. I think we all remember the catch. And I think that catch against the Dallas Cowboys will always be in the running for one of the best catches ever. So, and then there's other times where he may have had iconic moments, but like you said, he has a long way to go, and hopefully he will be injury free to allow him to have a long career, to really cement his status as being an icon. I mean, he's got out of this world talent, and I just can't, and I think we still are scratching the surface. I think there's still more to come, and it's just going to get better and better. At least I hope it gets better and better every year. And he's definitely, while not an icon, I think he's one of the faces of the NFL. And I think that he has transcended football. And I think, he's become a worldwide phenomenon. There was... He's very active on social media, so which I think that also helps. He's great at marketing himself. He went over to Germany and he had a picture. He had his phone and he was on top of a car, and it was this massive people. And we don't, as far as I know, the NFL doesn't have a big football presence in Germany, but they loved him. They knew him. They were shouting his name. And so everywhere he goes, he has this magnetic personality. It's the hair, it's the smile, it's the outfits. It's just who he is, and that's bigger than NFL. So I think even if he doesn't become an NFL icon, I think he'll be one of the biggest personalities that the game has seen in a long time, if ever.
No doubt about it.
So Mike, you want to talk about your Yankees, I think.
Oh, well, that's right. We almost forgot. They're in a huge tailspin, Keisha, after such a great start to the season. And I'm going to just ask you, can they right this ship, turn it around, and sail back into smoother waters?
Well, Mike, maybe it's the optimist in me. I think, of course, we've come upon the All-Star break, so that means we're halfway there, right? So there's another 80-something games to go minus the playoffs, yes? So there's always opportunity to right the ship as long as you're injury-free. You're an avid baseball watcher, avid Yankees fan, and so, what do you think the Yankees need to do? There's definitely optimism on this team, and one thing I did realize is that youth is on their side. They have some of their biggest names, their biggest stars and talent are young. So they can definitely, if they stay healthy, they can continue, have an upward trend this season and keep going up as seasons to come. But as a Yankees fan, what do you think the Yankees need to do in order to turn this thing around?
Well, I think the biggest question mark that they're going to face right now is how they're going to go ahead and be buyers before the trading deadline. They're going to go ahead and make some moves. There's no question about that. But what type of moves? They're going to go out and get a starting pitcher. How are they going to go ahead and help their bullpen? And of course, they need another first baseman. I mean, the first base this season has just been completely atrocious. But I think what the Yankees are facing right now is that the Houston Astros in the American League are so far superior, better than everybody else, that no matter what changes the Yankees make to their roster, I don't see them going out and being able to compete with a team like Houston once the playoffs roll around. So I think that they're going to be able to go ahead and make some moves and possibly compete with the Red Sox for the American League East. But I don't think that they're going to go ahead and mortgage their future to do so. And I think that with all that surplus of talent, which they do have a lot of, there's no question about it, they shouldn't get rid of everybody just so that they can go, because they have had a very good season so far, despite the fact that they've really struggled recently. So I think that you're possibly going to see them go after a first baseman, maybe get some help in the bullpen, but for the most part, you're not going to see them jumping out there and making 3, 4, possibly 5 trades so that they can go ahead and make a push for the World Series. It's not going to happen this year. And the last thing I'll say is they are getting some guys back, so that'll be good. Matt Holliday, of course, and Starlin Castro, 2 guys who have been hurt recently. When they get back in the lineup, hopefully that'll get them back rolling and everything.
And just quickly, any names that you think that the Yankees should go for?
The one guy that I think people have really talked about is Logan Morrison, who of course is with Tampa Bay, and that's never probably going to happen. But someone like that, and then of course, Tampa Bay would never wind up making a trade with the Yankees. But that's really about it. I mean, it's just a lot of it is it's just all speculation as far as how they're going to go forward.
And there were some whispers about Bryce Harper.
That's true.
And we will say congratulations to Aaron Judge because he won the Home Run Derby.
That's right.
At the All-Star Game. Bravo, bravo.
Mom, can we get some ice cream? Please, Mom, please.
No, we're having dinner soon.
Please.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of children in foster care who will take you just as you are.
Welcome back to What's the 411 Sports. Well, you thought you couldn't get enough of LaVar Ball? Don't worry, Facebook has got you covered. So LaVar Ball is taking his camera-ready persona along with his family and have reportedly landed a reality show deal. Deadline was reporting that the Ball family will be the focus of a yet-to-be-named docuseries as a part of Facebook's push for original video content.
That's right, Keisha. And a woman's first day as an Uber driver, and she picked up Warriors center JaVale McGee. How cool is that?
I mean, that's cool. I don't have fun Uber stories like that. One time, Odell Beckham Jr. was an Uber driver at one point, and I mean, then the Uber driver drove one of the football players from Chicago to somewhere far. It was like 5 hours away. I never get fun Uber stories, but I have been fortunate to have great Uber experiences. So on that note, we are going to have to say goodbye to you, and I don't like it. Don't be mad at me, but they said I had to do it. But don't worry, you can keep up with us until we meet again next week by following us on Instagram and Twitter, liking us on Facebook, and subscribing to our YouTube channel, all at 411 Sports TV. I'm Keisha Wilson. On behalf of my friend Mike McDonald, we'd like to thank you for hanging with us at What's the 411 Sports, and we look forward to checking you out next week.